Oh my god!
Today, we're going to look at over 30 different ideas and methods for one of the most spectacular effects in all of magic. Of course, I'm talking about the famous card through window. Now, in order to make these easier to explain, I've divided them into 4 chapters: plants, helpers, mechanical, electrical, and sleights. Because of the nature of this effect, much of this video will take place outside of the studio. This is because we wanted to use real situations and real windows. Alright, enough of the small print. Let's get right to it. Now we're going to take a look at plants. These all involve planting the card before the trick even begins. Before we get into this, let me just say, I believe these are the most powerful, most effective, and easiest to do out of all the card through window effects on this video. Remember, what's really important is what the spectator thinks happened. Well, unless of course you're performing on TV. Now we're going to learn something really simple. How to take this playing card and stick it to the window. Now there's a couple different ways you could do this. You could do it using a magician's wax, which is what I'm going to do, or you could use double stick tape, which is how we lost the card in the deck. All you do is place the piece of magician's wax in the center section of the card, anywhere up and down. I put it in some of the white space because that way it's well hidden when they're looking at the card on the other side of the glass. I've used a pretty big piece of wax here. You barely need any magician's wax to make it stick to the window. Alright, now all you simply do is turn it at a slight angle and press it onto the glass. It's really that simple. The reason you're going to do it at an angle is so it seems random, like when you were spraying the cards it randomly stuck. Whereas if the card was perfectly straight and perpendicular, it wouldn't look very good. Now here's why to use magician's wax instead of double stick tape. When you take the card off of the window, as you're going to go hand it out, you can run your thumbnail right along the card and take off that little piece of wax, just like that. Then you can hand the card out for examination. The one small problem with this, depending on the wax you use, it will leave a little bit of marks on the window. Also, it may leave marks on the card. You got to try out different waxes and see if you like using wax versus using double stick tape. And that is a complicated version of how to stick a card to a window. Now let's look at some places to plant a card. In a car window, on a bus stop ad, on a restaurant window, or on a window up high. Now these are just a couple ideas to get you started. Really, you can plant a card anywhere you can think of. Now, what do you do once you have the card planted? Let's check it out. Now we're going to talk about spectator management. This is how to get someone in the correct place so that they don't see the card. Now I'm going to have my friend Patrick help me out here. Sir, would you like to see a trick?
Yes.
Here, actually, so that everyone can see, will you just step right in a little bit? Okay. Now, do you see what I did there? Patrick has his back turned to the card. He's engaged in the rest of the card tricks I'm doing, and up until the point I do the card through window, he'll have no idea what's going on. Now, you might be wondering, how can I get practice at this? What if I get caught? What you want to do is practice doing your normal card routine, practice controlling people, and plant a card there just so you can see who notices it and who doesn't and how to control them. Don't even do the card through window until you get completely confident that you can control the spectators and put them right where you need them to do your effect. Now we're going to take a look at how to spring the cards. This is very easy. You're just going to grab the deck with your thumb and fingers on the top, just like so, and you're going to bend it in. This is going to allow them to shoot out. Now the next little thing, you're going to give your arm some momentum, like you're doing shot put with the cards. You're not going to do it too hard, but this gives it the amount of distance. Sometimes if you just squeeze the cards out, you won't get all the way to the window. You want the cards to spread out and go all over. Just give it some momentum, squeeze nice and hard. Alright, so it should look something like this. Now you might be thinking to yourself, gee Eric, these are all great, but their card is still loose in the deck. What happens if, when they're scattered on the ground, their card ends face up? What if they notice? Well, I can tell you right now, only about 10% of people would ever even think to ask. People are so amazed at what just happened that they don't even think to look. But those aren't quite good enough odds for me, so let me show you how to deal with that 10%. Now I'm going to show you how to make the selected card disappear. You're going to need a pack of Scotch double stick tape, but double-sided tape, and your deck of cards. Okay? Now all you're going to do is take a piece of double stick tape and place it on to the top of the deck. So now I've got the 3 of clubs here with a piece of double stick tape on the other side. Put this right on top of the deck, and you need to keep it there. So while you're running through the cards, have them select a card, and while you're shuffling, you need to keep it on top. So make sure to do shuffles that keep the 3 of clubs with the double stick tape on top. Okay, now all you're going to do is when they return their card, let's say it's the Jack of Diamonds, you're going to run it to the bottom, or you could double under the cards at the bottom, however you want to get it. Get the selected card, the Jack of Diamonds, onto the bottom. Now all you have to do is cut the deck in half. This will stick these two together so you can no longer see the face of the Jack of Diamonds. Just like so. Give it a little press to make sure it's stuck, and now you have made a card disappear. When you look through the deck, you can't find it, you can't see it. When you fling the cards out the window, they'll fall down, and there's no way that they'll see the Jack of Diamonds face up because it's covered by the 3 of clubs. And that's how you make the selected card disappear. Now we're going to take a look at the card through window routine as a whole. The setup is the top card has the piece of double stick tape on it, and I'm holding a break above the duplicate card, in this case the Ace of Hearts, the duplicate on the window. Now you can use whatever force you want. I'm going to use a classic force. So sir, would you please just reach in and take any card that you'd like, and then show it around, show it to them so they can see what it is. Okay. Now what you're going to do is just a swing cut to make the card disappear, as I showed you earlier. Tell me when to stop. Stop. Right there. Please return the card to the deck. Just like that. Now that double stick tape is going to stick and hide the card. Now I want you to watch closely, okay? Could you step over here so everyone can see this? Now watch very closely. And that's the card through window routine. Now let's move right along to helper effects. In this section, we're going to take a look at helper effects. A helper effect is where you have someone, an assistant, help you achieve the desired effect. Now in card through window effects, this can be a huge advantage. Now first, we're going to go back and take a look at some of the stuff you learned earlier in the plant section with the help of an assistant. Alright, now real quick I just want to mention that during these helper effects, obviously you'll be doing the effect. So you'll have your spectators in front of the window while your helper runs behind and sticks it to the window, or the bus stop ad, or the restaurant window, or any of the ideas we've mentioned here. It's supposed to happen while you're performing the effect. Just wanted to clarify that. So, we've seen how useful a helper can be, but really we've just begun. A helper can help you achieve effects that are otherwise impossible. Let's take a look at a few of these. Alright, just really quick, I want to let you know these techniques you're learning don't have to be used for just card through window. You can use the same routine, the same techniques, and spring the card over someone and have the card appear on them or underneath them. So, to give you an idea what I'm talking about, you could have it end up in their pocket, in their shoe. You could have it end up in their back pocket or in their wallet. Now you might be asking yourself, well, how could I pull that off? How could I get it into their wallet? Well, imagine this. A wife is booking a birthday party for her husband. Don't you think if you asked her, you say, would you throw this two of spades into his wallet before you guys get ready to go? I'm sure she could pull it off and he wouldn't notice. The only person who would know is her, and then she's your helper. You can do the same thing for a little kid, having the parent put it in their back pocket. You could have them put it inside their shoe before they even put it on their shoe. A lot of people won't notice these small things, and they can be a terrific piece of magic. So I just want you to know you can apply what you're learning to many more effects than just card through window. Alright, now speaking of using your imagination, these are my imagination going a little crazy, coming up with new ways and trying to take card through window effects to a whole new level. Let's take a look at some basic examples. Now this is a very cool effect. This is a card to cell phone. That might sound a little crazy, but most cell phones these days can take, send, and receive pictures. So all you're going to do is have a friend, or before you start the trick, send a picture to the other person's phone. Then, once you spray the cards over them, it ends up as a picture in their phone. Just like so. Now, this isn't exactly 1-to-1 ratio here, but it's interesting because most people's cell phones, when they get sent a picture, it will be the first thing that pops up. They'll think, well, you were doing the trick, how could you have sent that to me? That's impossible. And they're right. Now for one of my favorite effects on this video, a card to TV. As you can see, I have a video track playing that has these 7 of clubs. This video is from a concert that I shot. This is to give the illusion that you're really watching something, say on MTV or something like that. So it's not just something that's obviously filmed by you to do this effect. One track or one angle has the card there, and the other angle, let me just hit the angle button, does not have the card. As you can see, it will appear and disappear as you hit the angle button. So you want to get out your remote control for your DVD player and find the angle button. This is how you figure out how to do it on your DVD player. All DVD players are different, but in general it takes 4 to 5 seconds to switch angles. So I'm going to time mine, okay? I'm going to hit the button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right about 5 seconds the card appears. Now I know it takes 5 seconds for the card to appear. What this means is you need to wait 4 seconds, or about 4.5, before you begin throwing the cards at the TV. If you throw the cards correctly, it should give you about a second or more to allow the card to appear. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to hit the remote and count. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, once the cards have fallen, there's one stuck right inside the TV. And that is card to TV. Now, don't underestimate these effects. I have been blown away by the reactions I've gotten from the card to TV effect. Now, I believe this is because we're living in a progressively technical world. People are much more tied into their TV and their computer. This becomes important as a performer. Alright, now let's move on to some more advanced stuff. You're about to learn about one of the most advanced technologies ever created. I'm speaking, of course, of one of these. A miniature RC car. Alright, now you might think I've gone crazy, but hear me out. For the last 2 years, I've been working on a perfect card-through window. One that would blow away all the other methods. Of course, in my journeys, as some of you may have guessed, I came up with some ridiculous, expensive, complicated solutions to this problem. At one point I had a Bluetooth phone that was hooked up through my computer. My computer was sending a signal through X11 home automation software. The software would then send a signal that would switch on and shoot the card right at the window, so it would stick to the window. Now, this didn't really work like it sounds. It only worked maybe once out of every 5 tries. So I went back to the drawing board. Now, out of the blue came this idea. Why not use a mini RC car? I have no idea where it came from, but the rest is history. Plus, this is a bit more economical and makes a lot more sense. I bought this for about $5 at a major US retailer. So these are cheap and available. That's enough of the history lesson. Let's get right to it. Now we're going to take a look at how to set up the car. This actually has to hang above the window. So I'm going to show you how to attach these wall hangers so that you can hook the car almost anywhere. So you have your RC car, needle nose pliers, a pen, and wall hangers. Okay, now very first of all, you want to look on the front of the car and you can see this little slit where the car attaches the bottom half to the top half. You're going to pop the bottom half from the top half at the front. How you do this is just simply take a pen and wedge it in between the 2 pieces. Once you get it in there, just pop the pen forward. Now all that did is unlatch right there so that I can pull these apart. Now we need a wall hanger. So grab a wall hanger and we're going to actually thread this right through that slot. So I'm going to take the wall hanger, I put it right through the slot like so. It kind of pops into place. So it looks just like that. Okay, now with the needle nose pliers, I'm going to sandwich the body with the wall hanger. So I'm just going to squeeze these 2 pieces together so that you end up with something like that. Alright, now we just pull the antenna back down and pop the car into place, just like so. Now what you've got is the whole car with a hanger, a wall hanger, right onto the car. Now isn't that just perfect? You can now hang this on any wall you want. I'll show you that outside of the studio. Alright, now just a small note before we hang the car above the window. The hanger, if you hold it straight, it leaves the car at a bit of a downward angle. I hope you can see that on the camera. It's a bit at a downward angle, so we want to bend the hanger a little bit. So just get your needle nose pliers, and all we're going to do is bend it in a bit, so that when it's hanging on the wall, the car has a slight angle this way. This is so when the cards are laying, they're being pushed into the wall until you're ready for them to shoot out. Okay? Alright, just a small note. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but I have the car on its charger, and normally it won't fit on the charger with the wall hanger. All I did was pop the front off the same way you did before, and I just leave it propped up while it's charging. Then I can snap the car back together and be ready to go. Alright, so I've got my car with the wall hanging mount and the nail that was included and a hammer, and I'm just going to attach the car to the wall right about in the center of the window. And there you go. That's how easy it is, and we're ready to go. Now I'm going to show you how to use the little contraption we've built for a very simple effect. Now this has gotten some great reactions, and it's nice and easy to do to get used to this type of method. All you need is your card, your double card. You're just going to put it right on top of the car like so. It's just balancing up there. Then you're going to perform the routine as normal, And then as you're springing the cards, as they're hitting the window, the idea is that one of them goes through the window and comes fluttering down the other side. Now I have the little remote control here, and I'm going to show you what this might look like. So as you're springing the cards off, you just hit the button, and bam, the card flutters down. And from the other side, this looks pretty cool because it looks like it's coming down and out, which makes it appear like as they were hitting the window, one came through and fell to the ground. This is very good as well because the spectators can go down and pick up the card themselves once they come inside. This is a very powerful effect. Alright, now I'm going to show you an awesome effect using this principle. It's a deck through window. This is actually how I came up with some of these ideas. I was trying to come up with a way so that you could take the deck and slam it through the window. All the cards would flutter out on the other side, and one card would be left on this side of the glass. So the opposite of a normal card through window effect. Check it out. Alright, now this is the first stage of this effect. We need to get so we end up with just the selected card, because once we slam the deck through the window, we just want one card left on this side. The rest of the deck is fluttering through on the other side. We want the deck to end up in our back pocket. Now, this is a lot easier than it seems because of the motion. Think about if you're going to slam a deck through the window, what happens. You wind up and this arm ends up behind you, right at your back pocket. So we're going to put the deck in your back pocket, just like so. As you wind up, you're going to push over the top card. You're going to hold it just like so, so it appears you have the whole deck. It's not really important because there's so much action. So you're just going to simply take the top card off, wind up, and separate your hands as they start to come back. So as it starts to come back, separate, go to your back pocket, and slam through. Now this hand has dropped the deck in your back pocket, but you're going to let it follow through behind you. That way it seems like a logical motion. So you separate the deck, slam through the window, the cards go fluttering on the other side, and you're left with one single card. You're completely clear, and because of all the other motions, the huge motion covering the small motion of ditching the deck, you're completely clean. And you can hand them back their selection. Alright, now for the second stage. This is what's happening on the other side of the glass. You're going to take your deck and cut it. This is a second deck, by the way. You're going to cut it about in half, a little more than half, okay? And you're going to get rid of the rest of the cards. The reason you can't use the whole deck, or you don't want to, is because the car won't push the deck off with enough inertia. It will just tip the deck off and it will flop onto the ground rather than scatter. And I would much rather prefer having only half a deck than a whole deck that just flops onto the ground. Alright, now what you're going to do is sort of drop the cards in your hand in a haphazard manner. Just like so. You want them kind of every which way. This is so when they come off of the top of the window, off the car, they're all going to catch a different piece of air. They're all going to catch, and one's going to fly off this way, and one's going to fly off that way, okay? Alright, now I'm going to take these cards that are all arranged all crazy, and I'm going to put them on top of the car. Just like so. Now you may need to move them around a bit so that they stay balanced, but it should just be a big wad of cards all on top of there. Now what you're going to do is have the remote control in your back pocket. So when you hit the window with the card, your other hand goes back and puts the cards into your pocket. You're going to hit the remote control, which is going to cause these cards to fall off. Now they're going to come off in one section, and as they fall, different pieces will catch different pieces of air, and they'll scatter. I'll show you right now. So I slam my hand, I drop it back, and bam, the deck goes fluttering down to the ground. Now this effect looks very cool. When you slam your hand and the deck goes through the window, it looks like it just hits and drops right through and scatters onto the ground. This is a good effect because you're starting with the deck as a whole. So as you hit the window and as it drops off, it's sort of in one lump still, but it catches air and flutters off, which is exactly what would happen if you could really do this. And that is the deck through window. Alright, now I'm going to talk a bit more about how to use the remote control. And this is going to be a little different for each brand of car, okay? What I like to do is I'll have the antenna up and I'll have it in my back pocket, okay? Now, as I'm sending the cards towards the window, or as I hit the window, or whatever the case may be, I can push down on the entire controller and it will cause the car to turn on and off, like so. Now, of course, you're going to want a shirt like this or a blazer to cover up the remote so that no one can see it. Now do you see the potential of this little guy? Now, you might think those are cool, but that's not what I always dreamed of. I always dreamed that there would be a way to load a card onto the window in under 2 seconds. That way, you could be flinging the cards. The card would have time to load onto the window while all the cards were flying and hitting the window. Now, if you could do that, that would be a true miracle. A daytime, visual, card-through-window miracle that people would talk about for years. Well, I have a surprise for you. That's what you're about to learn. Now I'm going to show you the ultimate card-through window. Now what I have set up here is I have the duplicate playing card set up with 5 pieces of magician's wax, okay? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're just going to put 1 in each corner and 1 in the center. Obviously these are gigantic pieces of wax. You're going to use just little pieces of wax. Make sure to put them in the white areas of the card, which I did not do there. But put them in the white areas so that it matches the card better. It's not going to be perfect, and obviously this wax is going to look yellow because it's so thick. Okay, next I have invisible elastic that's not yet stripped, so you should be able to see it a little bit. Going from the center of the card over here to a piece of tape, and the center going over here to a piece of tape. Now, normally you're going to attach both of these in the center on the centerpiece of magician's wax, okay? I have just taped everything on for demonstration purposes, okay? Now what you're going to do to set it up on the window is you're going to tape the other ends of the invisible elastic, one to the top corner and one off to the side. This is how I found that the card would stop the very fastest that it can, okay? So I'm going to do that now. Now I'm going to tape these right at the very top so that you can't see the tape from the other side. Same over here. I'm going to tape it onto the side just like so. Okay? Okay, so this is about where the card is going to end up when it is shot off the card and sticks to the window. Now all we're going to do is take the card and turn it straight up like so and lay it over the car, just like we did with the single card through window. Now this is all the setup. Now let's take a look at what that looks like in action. So as I start springing the cards, as their field of vision is blurred, the cards are hitting the window, I'm just going to hit the remote. Let's see what that looks like. Bam. Just like that, in under 1 second, the card snaps and sticks because of the wax, sticks to the window. Tell me you've ever seen a card through window that can happen that fast. Now this illusion is even better because as the cards are being flung at the window, they're falling. They're hitting the window and falling. So the fact you have a card that's fluttering down and hitting the window looks normal. You can't tell depth when there's that many cards flying around. So it's in the mix of cards that are flying and flowing down. Then it stops in its place almost every single time. You will get a few times where this will jump around a little and then stop. But if you do the springing of the cards correctly, it should not be a problem. And that is the ultimate card through window. Now you might be wondering, is it possible for them to be able to come inside without seeing the little RC car? Yes, it is. You just need to have, or pick a location that has drapes coming over. I've got a little bit of footage of what a perfect setup would look like. Here it is. So there you go, a $10 miracle card-through window. I really think this is a giant leap forward in our ability as magicians to perform a true card-through window effect. Now I realize that there is a bit of setup and this isn't exactly perfect, but trust me, it is all worth it when you get it right. If you want to know what I mean, just look at the reactions of the spectators. An effect they cannot fathom as possible. Now we're going to take a look at card-through window routines and methods using black art. Unfortunately, these have to be done at night, but the advantages you gain are tremendous. Let's have a look. Now this is how you set up a black art card. All you're going to do is take a card out, in this case the 10 of spades. You're going to rub Elmer's glue stick. You're going to glue all on the other side of the card, and then take an old black t-shirt, or if you want to go true black art, get velveteen from a local fabric store. You're going to cut out a square of it that's too large for the card, and you're going to glue it right on. You're going to let it dry and then just trim right around the card. You want to leave a little bit of an edge like I have here. You want it to just go over the edge of the card. This is so when it's facing this way you don't actually see any of the back of the card. Now what you want to do is attach a small piece of magician's wax to the right hand side of the card, right there. I've used a big piece so that you can see. Now on the other side of the card you want to run a piece of Scotch tape, or even better, a piece of crystal clear or invisible tape. You can find these at office stores. It's just like Scotch tape, but it's more see-through. Now here's how you attach the card to the window. Now all you're going to do is turn the card at an angle like this with the tape at the top, and you're just going to tape it right down to the window, like so. Okay, now a small subtlety. If you notice the card isn't wanting to touch the window, it's popping up a little bit. To fix this problem, you're going to go right underneath the card, like so, and you're going to peel up the tape, just about 1/8 of an inch back, so that you have the part that's taped to the card, and you have a little space that's not taped to anything, and then you have it taped to the window. Now this will help it reach its full range of motion. Now you might be asking yourself, how do I control the card so that I can flap it up and down? Well, we're going to use some of the techniques we've learned earlier in the video. We're going to take a length of invisible elastic or invisible thread, but for this one invisible elastic is better. And I just have a piece of tape on the other side. You're going to tape it in the lower right hand corner of the window, again so that you wouldn't be able to see it from the other side. Then you're going to pull it so that it's starting to stretch and attach it, just flip the card up and attach it into the wax that's on this side of the card. Just like so. Now what you have is attached to the wax and it's wanting to pull it down into its natural position. So you have it ready to flip over. Now there's a couple different ways to initiate that action. The easiest way is to just use a helper. All you're going to do is have him pull on the other side of the invisible elastic and hide on the side of the window. And as soon as the cards come flying at the window, he's just going to let go. And bam, the card snaps. Faster than any of the other effects, just snaps right there, the card appears, and you're done with it. The other thing you can do, if you don't have a helper, you can hook up your mini RC car up in the corner, and you can wrap the invisible elastic around the wheel. You can wind it up, and then when you hit the remote control, it will let go of the invisible elastic and snap it right to the window. And that is using black art in a card-through window effect. Now there's a couple ways to use this. I'm going to talk about my two favorite ways. The first one is to do a classic card-through window where you're springing the cards at the window and right at the right moment this snaps into place, like so. Now the other way is the visual card-through window. So you're holding a card, you bring it into palm, and right as you wave across the window, your helper's going to let go, bam, it's going to appear that you just pushed the card right through the window. You can see a performance of this in the demo. It's very simple working. All I'm doing is palming the card away as my helper lets go of the invisible elastic and the card shows up. Now, blackguard effects only work at night. This is very important. You also need somewhere that has high reflection. For instance, if you were doing it in your house, like I'm doing now, it would need to be completely dark outside and you want lots of lights on inside. That way there's plenty of reflection on the window. You can't see through at all. That's why this works. So as the black is up against the window, it looks just like the nighttime outside. So when it flips through, all of a sudden the light from the inside illuminates because of the white of the card, and bam, you have a terrific card through window. Last but not least, let's dive into card through window effects using sleight of hand. These are effects where you are actually having to do the dirty work during the trick. For our first effect, we have card through table. Now we're going to look at a very simple effect that uses a card through window pattern. It's actually card through table. So all you're going to do is have someone reach in and take a card. Let's say they take the 2 of clubs. However you want, through shuffles or however you want to control it to the bottom. So the selected card, in this case the 2 of clubs, needs to go to the bottom. Now this next part is very simple. All you're going to do is buckle the card, okay? And you're going to get it into palm like so. It's not really a gambler's comp, it's a bit higher. Just like so, off the deck. Just going to hold the rest of the deck like this. You're going to get this card while you're talking about, oh well, did you know, have you ever seen a magician do a card through window effect? It's cool. What happens is they slam the deck into the window and a card goes through it. Now, while you're talking about that, you're doing all the dirty work, buckling the card and getting it into palm. Next, and some of you might think you can't get away with this, but you really can, okay? As you're talking, you say, oh, the magician, he just takes the deck and he slams it right through the table. And as you hit it down, you just simply bring your hand under and let the card go. It's really that simple. Reach down and show that it's the 2 of clubs. Now I'll tell you why this works. They don't know that you're about to do a trick, okay? So while you're describing, they don't think anything's going to happen right here. They don't know that something's about to happen. You hit, they see a card go fluttering down, so that's where their attention is. A lot of you might think, oh, well, you need to bring your hand right back out, but don't. Hit and then just leave your hand under the table for a good a beat and a half, let's say. Just wait until they realize what's happened, then start leaning down to get the card. This gives you a logical reason to have your hand under the table. A lot of times they won't even remember that your hand wasn't under the table. They'll remember you reaching under to get the card, to show that it's the 2 of clubs. And that is a card through table. Now you can do this as a follow-up effect to the one you just did. People are really not expecting this one. All you're going to do is have someone select a card again or use the same card, then control it to the top. So in this case we're going to keep using the 2 of clubs. It's on top of the deck, okay? Now while you're gesturing, same thing, you're going to get the top card in a grip just like this. You're gripping it like this so that you can't tell that it's just one card, okay? Just like so with the 4 fingers on the front of the card. While you're gesturing, you get it like this, and you're going to push the rest of the deck down into the same grip you had the single card in, just like this. Alright, so as you're talking, you say, yeah, and it was just like I slammed it through, and as you come together, you're going to move the deck up, and you're going to let go. So you're going to slap the deck onto the table, then the cards are going to break apart and fall to the ground. It's a very visual, very cool thing. So you say, yeah, and he took the cards and he slammed them through the table. Now that gets reactions like you wouldn't believe. The same thing is true. You're going to slap the cards together and that's going to get your hand, the slapping is going to get your hand so far away, it's not going to be right under the table that they're not going to suspect, even though you just did the trick a second ago. All the movement of the cards falling to the ground takes their eyes away from what they should be looking at. That, and they thought you had the whole deck up here. So had one card gone through, they could probably tell you how you did it. But the fact that the whole deck went through is really a mind-boggler. So you slap them together, and the same thing, give it a beat, then reach down to pick up the cards, like so. And that is the deck through table. Now let's look at something I created that's a bit off the beaten path. I call it wall stab. Now I'm going to show you a neat trick that I invented. This follows all the same rules as a plant. So you're going to plant this on the wall before you even start the trick. All this is, it's a playing card that's cut in half diagonally. Then I've put some magician's wax right along the edge. I just took a ball of it and rubbed it along the edge, then pressed it up so that it's sticking above the card. So all you're going to do is take the card and stick it to the wall like so. Now what does that look like to you? To me it looks like a card sticking right out of the wall. Now all you're going to do is with the deck of cards you're going to force the duplicate, lose the card like we taught earlier, and then you're just going to throw the entire deck at the wall. Okay? Now obviously your spectators will be blocking. They will not looked at this wall yet. You're just going to throw the deck, it hits the wall like so, and they see that one card is left stuck in the wall. Like you threw the deck hard enough to stick a card right in the wall. Now this is more of a novelty thing than anything else because obviously they're gonna grab at it. It's still a great trick because they still get that moment of magic where they think that their card really did stick into the wall. It's kind of a funny moment if you're performing at someone else's house or in their restaurant. When you pull the card off, because they're pretty happy to see they don't have a hole in the wall. So that's card stab. Very cool effect. I love wall stab because most spectators haven't seen anything like it, and they'll probably never see anything like it again. Now we've got something very cool. This effect allows you to repeat the card through window. This will drive the hecklers absolutely crazy. Now it is important that they already understand the idea of the card passing through the window, that it ends up on the other side. You'll see what I mean in just a second. Now we're going to look at a little effect I call cards stuck to window. See what I mean in a minute. The setup is very simple. I just have a big ball of wax on my pointer finger on the nail, and you're going to do a card trick like normal, have them select out a card. Then you're going to want to control it to the top. For this example, we're going to use the 7 of clubs. Now, before you spring the cards at the window, you're going to rub the piece of wax off onto the card, just like so. Just move your finger to the side and it will stick the wax right to the card. Now, the only other difference is how you spring the cards at the window. You actually want to send the first quarter of the deck flying at the window all on its own. This is going to give it enough pressure to stick the wax to the window. With the remainder of the deck, you want to spring it just like normal. It looks like this. 7 of clubs through the window. Now I'm going to show you a few selling points, things you can do to sell the illusion that it's through the window. The very first one is you're going to place your fingers like this and you're going to tap. But you're only going to actually tap with your finger that's on the window. Alright, now the second one is a lot of times when the card's through the glass, people go like this. They sort of claw at the window for some reason. This is a way to fake that. You're going to run these 3 of your nails on the glass and keep this one just above the card, like so. And those are some selling points to help it appear that it's through the glass. Alright, now we're going to take a look at how to pull the card back through the window. Because you have the advantage of the card actually being on your side, we're going to pretend that we're pulling the card right through the glass. Looks something like this. You just cover it up with your hand, and you're going to sort of press. And all you're doing is getting your hand in the right position to cover it up. You're going to reach in and grab the corner, like so, and you're going to press, and you're going to slowly pull the card through the glass, like so. Alright? Now, there's a little piece of wax stuck on there. So as you're handing it out, you're just going to run your thumbnail up and pull off the wax, like so. Then you're free to hand the card out for examination that you just pulled right through the window. Alright, just real quick, I want to mention this trick is only to be used when you have complete spectator control. Obviously, they can't go up and touch the card. This is only as an extra seller. You need to have complete control over your audience, and this is just a way to visually show them. If you think that your audience is going to go up and try to grab the card before you allow them to, do not do this effect. You will get caught. Alright, now I'm sure some of you guys out there were thinking, hold on a second. Couldn't that be done with a signed card? And wouldn't that be a good effect? And yes, it would be a good effect. I would say don't do it unless you're specifically asked by an audience member when you're going to repeat the effect. This is because you want the spectators to remember the effect as a whole. This will make it more impossible for them to figure out later. Think about it. They can go to their friends and describe that they saw the card grow right through the window. They went up and they felt, and it was on the other side of the glass. They just mixed the two. The first time they saw it was behind the glass. The second time they saw it happen. So you don't want to detract from this if you can help it. Keep in mind the spectators should remember the performance as a whole. Well, it's been quite a wild ride. This effect has been a favorite of mine for many, many years, and I had quite a blast producing the DVD. Now, I know that if you put in the time and interest that I did into this effect, you'll have more fun performing it than just about any other effect. As always, please do not take what you have learned lightly. These effects and methods have taken years to develop and are extremely powerful. Please remember to take any magic you learn seriously. I'm Eric James. Thanks for joining me today, and remember, perform with passion.